I had been out that night with a buddy of mine. A couple of guys came up and got me from behind.
Richard Rawlings, the fearless and energetic star of Fast and Loud, has finally shared some surprising news, and it left fans in shock. But what comes next for the man whose life has always been about fast cars, risk-taking, and raw passion? From the success of Gas Monkey Garage to his unexpected announcement, we're uncovering the true story behind it all. The words now heard. Richard Rawlings has finally opened up about what's really been happening behind the scenes. And while some fans thought he was stepping away from the spotlight, the truth is much deeper than that. Instead of disappearing, Richard is shifting gears. He's turning his focus to new adventures, fresh ideas, and even a few emotional chapters from his past. Over the years, Rawlings has faced some heavy personal and professional struggles. He's been honest about how his divorce almost destroyed his career, calling it a reset that helped him find a new direction. That breakup, as painful as it was, became a major turning point. At the time, he announced it as a mutual decision, but later reports revealed it was more complicated than fans first thought. Back in March 2019, Richard posted on social media that he and his wife Suzanne had decided to separate and divorce. But by April 2025, a video surfaced suggesting that the split played a big role in the end of Fast and Loud and even led to a legal battle behind the scenes. Their relationship had already gone through many highs and lows. They divorced once, got back together, and then separated again. For Richard, it was a tough and painful experience, but it also made him take a step back, think about his life, and start rebuilding himself. And rebuild he did. Rather than retreating, Richard Rawlings is charging forward with new projects and a fresh sense of purpose. He's working on an off-road park, planning his own Gas Monkey whiskey distillery, and diving into podcast ING, where he's even reconnected with his former Fast and Loud partner, Aaron Kaufman. Their friendship, once strained, seems to be warming up again, proof that Richard is leaving behind the rivalries of his past. These days, fans are seeing a different side of him. Gone is the wild, hard-partying daredevil of his younger years. Now, in his 50s, Richard has become a more relaxed but still fiercely passionate car lover, focused on what truly matters: creativity, friendship, and legacy. He's been sharing glimpses of this new chapter online, from photos of his favorite cars and travels to heartfelt moments with old friends. He recently posted a picture of his childhood bike, proudly adding it to his collection. In another post, he mentioned crashing at the Moxie Springfield downtown and teased a cool collaboration for a garage session with the band All Time Low. Richard posted a video about a new project restoring a classic UK Royal Mail delivery van with the Good Life van crew. In that clip, he joked about how electric is a sore subject, reminding everyone that while he's evolved, his sense of humor and passion for cars haven't changed a bit. Through all the ups and downs, Richard Rawlings has shown that he's more than just a TV star. He's a man who keeps growing, learning from his past, and still chasing the thrill that made him who he is. But how did he become the man we see today? What pushed him to keep going when things fell apart? How did he turn pain into purpose and failure into fuel? Becoming global car legend. Long before the fame, the TV cameras, and the roar of engines at Gas Monkey Garage, Richard Rawlings was just a kid from Fort Worth, Texas, who couldn't get cars out of his head. Born in 1969, Rawlings didn't grow up with wealth or fame, but he had a burning obsession with cars. From a young age, his weekends were spent tagging along with his dad to local auto shows, staring wide-eyed at shiny engines and chrome finishes. Those trips planted a seed that Rawlings nurtured to fruition. By the time Richard was just 14, he had already done something that most adults dream of. He bought his first car. He purchased a 1974 Mercury Comet, his first love on 4 wheels. To afford it, Richard delivered newspapers before school and after, sometimes late into the evening. While most kids were saving for video games or sneakers, Richard was saving for spark plugs and paint jobs. That early drive to earn what he wanted became the foundation of his entire life. Through high school at Eastern Hills, cars were his everything. By the time he graduated, he had already bought and sold more than 20 cars, flipping vehicles for small profits, learning the tricks of the trade, and unknowingly setting himself up for the empire he would later build. But life wasn't always smooth for Rawlings. He faced more than his share of hardship and danger. In his early 20s, he survived a terrifying carjacking, one that left him shot while trying to protect his prized 1965 Mustang Fastback. That moment could have ended everything. Instead, it became fuel for his fire, a reminder that he wasn't going to let anyone or anything stop him. In those years, Rawlings also faced a more personal heartbreak: his father's diagnosis with Alzheimer's disease. Watching the man who first introduced him to cars slowly lose those memories was one of the hardest things he'd ever faced. Yet even then, Richard found ways to stay connected, often bringing his dad around old cars just to spark a smile. Rawlings didn't become a TV star overnight. Before the fame, he worked really hard. He took on all kinds of jobs to make ends meet and to fund his growing passion for cars. At different times, he worked as a firefighter, a policeman, and even a paramedic. He was the kind of guy who ran toward challenges instead of away from them. Those experiences gave him grit, discipline, and a deep appreciation for life. By the late 90s, Richard Rawlings decided to dive into the business world and started his own printing and advertising company called Lincoln Press. The company grew quickly and became successful, giving him the financial freedom he needed to finally follow his true passion. After a few years, he sold the business and used the money to create what would become his biggest achievement. In 2002, Gas Monkey Garage came to life in Dallas, Texas. It began as a small setup, just a few guys, a couple of old cars, and one big dream. Their mission was simple but exciting: find forgotten classic cars, restore them to their former glory, and sell them for profit. What made Richard Rawlings truly stand out was his non-stop energy, confident charm, and his refusal to accept anything less than perfection. Every car that rolled out of the shop carried his personal style and touch. Through hard work, passion, and sheer determination, Rawlings' name started to spread beyond Dallas. People began to notice the amazing transformations coming out of Gas Monkey Garage, cars that seemed dead brought back to life in stunning fashion. It wasn't long before the world took notice, and soon Discovery Channel came knocking with an offer that would change his life forever. But before all of that fame and success, Rawlings had already lived through different chapters of his personal life. He had been married twice, first to Karen K. Grames, though the marriage only lasted a year. Then he married Suzanne Marie Mergel, the same year he launched Lincoln Press. Everything seemed to be falling into place, but the real turning point, the moment that would transform Richard Rawlings from a hard-working businessman into a global television star, came when Discovery Channel discovered him. But was it truly luck that found him, or had he been paving the road toward that moment all along? When Fast and Loud first came to TV on June 6, 2012, no one expected it to become one of the most popular car shows in the world. The Discovery Channel saw its potential and made the most of it. This wasn't just another reality show, it was bold, fresh, and full of excitement. At the center of it all was Richard Rawlings and his team at Gas Monkey Garage. The show's thrilling concept was for Rawlings and his crew to travel across America looking for old, abandoned, and beat-up cars, the kind forgotten in barns, junkyards, or backyards. They'd buy these cars for cheap, restore them in their Dallas garage, and then sell them for profit. But the show was more than just about fixing cars. It was about passion, teamwork, and the pressure to meet tough deadlines. Each episode showed their highs and lows, the laughter, the arguments, and the intense moments that came with chasing perfection in the world of car restoration. From the very first season, Fast and Loud became a massive hit. Audiences were hooked by the fast pace, the humor, and the chemistry between Richard and his crew, especially Aaron Kaufman, the bearded genius mechanic who could turn any wreck into a masterpiece. Their teamwork and tension gave the show its heartbeat. The duo's fame grew so much that they were even invited to compete in a motorcycle build-off against legends like Orange County Choppers, Paul Jr. Designs, and Jesse James. Richard and Aaron came in second, proving they were no amateurs in the custom world. Behind the cameras, Fast and Loud was produced by Pilgrim Studios with Craig Peligian and Eddie Rowetter as executive producers. Discovery Channel knew they had struck gold. The show quickly grew into one of their biggest success stories. It wasn't just car lovers watching, it was families, young dreamers, and people who loved seeing creativity and business come together. As the seasons rolled on, the Gas Monkey Garage brand became a household name. The show's success even led to spin-offs like Misfit Garage and Fast and Loud, Demolition Theater, where Richard and others would react to funny or wild clips from their own adventures. By 2019, Fast and Loud had run for an incredible 15 seasons, and a 16th season followed in 2020. Over the years, the show's fame reached beyond TV. Even an online survey revealed that Fast and Loud was one of the top 50 most liked shows on Facebook, and it stood out as the most popular show among men, with 83% of likes coming from male fans. Each episode of the show followed a simple but exciting routine that kept fans hooked. Richard Rawlings had a special talent for spotting hidden treasures. He traveled all over the country, hunting for old, forgotten cars, sometimes left to rotten barns, buried in fields, or collecting dust in abandoned garages. He always carried cash with him, ready to strike a deal the moment he saw something worth saving. Once the car made it back to Gas Monkey Garage, the real work began. The crew gathered to plan what to fix, what to replace, and how to bring the vehicle back to life. The mechanics then worked long, exhausting hours, dealing with rusted engines, missing parts, and sudden changes that tested their skills. After all the sweat, arguments, and late nights, the big moment would finally come. The car was done and ready to sell. This was always the most thrilling part. Would they make a good profit or lose money? The cameras caught every emotion, every handshake, and every roar of the engine as another Gas Monkey masterpiece hit the road. While the show looked fun and fast-paced, the crew often faced huge stress behind the scenes. They worked under tight deadlines and limited budgets to meet TV production schedules. Every episode had to be bigger, faster, and more dramatic than the last. Over time, that pressure started to take a toll. Tensions began to rise between Rawlings and Kaufman. Aaron wanted to take on more complex, creative projects, the kind that required more time and precision. But the show's producers needed quick builds that could be finished in time for the next episode. Those creative differences eventually led to Kaufman's departure, a moment that shocked fans and changed the show's dynamic forever. The crew also dealt with several public controversies during their run. One major incident happened during a drag race against the team from Roadkill. Rawlings ordered his team to use upgraded parts instead of junkyard parts, which gave them a big advantage. They won the race, but fans accused them of cheating, and the backlash created tension between Rawlings and Kaufman. Then there was the fan dispute incident, where employees Tom Smith and Jordan Butler were reportedly fired after a disagreement involving a fan with cystic fibrosis who wanted a photo with one of the cars. The situation caused outrage among viewers and added to the strain within the team. On top of all that, Rawlings also faced pressure from the public eye. Every move he made was watched, judged, and talked about online. His public feud with Jesse James, another well-known car builder, added fuel to the fire. By late 2020, after years of constant filming, deadlines, and drama, Richard Rawlings decided it was time for a change. During an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, he confirmed that Fast and Loud had officially ended. Even after the show ended, Rawlings stayed busy. He launched another Discovery Channel show called Garage Rehab, where he helped struggling automotive shops get back on their feet. Working alongside Russell Holmes and Chris Stevens, Rawlings used his business experience to turn failing garages into thriving operations. His love for cars has never stopped. Rawlings often shares car-flipping tips and behind-the-scenes stories with fans. In one interview, he revealed that many of his best finds come from people who started big car projects but couldn't finish them. Over the years, Richard Rawlings has gathered an impressive personal car collection. In his garage, you'll find a Lamborghini Countach, a Porsche, a few Ferraris, and even a custom-made classic Ford Mustang. But the one closest to his heart is the 1932 Ford Hot Rod. He calls it the car that began America's passion for hot rodding. Aside from building and restoring cars, Rawlings has used his smart business skills to explore other ventures. What other businesses has Richard Rawlings invested in besides building cars? Let's find out. More than cars. Richard Rawlings isn't just a quick-talking TV star. He's a man who earned his fame on the open road. Beyond the show that made him famous around the world, he has also explored many other ventures. Back in 2007, Rawlings joined forces with his longtime friend and co-pilot, Dennis Collins, to take on the Cannonball Run. This wasn't your ordinary race, it was a secret cross-country challenge that started in the 70s. The mission was simple but risky. Drive from New York City all the way to Los Angeles in the shortest time possible. He and Dennis made a bet with their rival, Jay Reiki, claiming they could do it faster. Their weapon of choice? A black Ferrari 550, modified with extra fuel tanks so they could drive longer without stopping. When the engines roared to life, they raced with endurance, skill, and nerve. After nearly 32 hours on the road, crossing states, dodging traffic, and battling exhaustion, they reached Los Angeles with a final time of 31 hours and 59 minutes. But controversy followed them. Many car enthusiasts questioned the legitimacy of their record, pointing out that their distance and timing didn't perfectly match the original route from the 70s. Others said they didn't leave or arrive at the official Cannonball locations. Still, one thing was clear: Rawlings and Collins were the only pair to beat the record set by Rick Klein and Jack May. But Richard Rawlings wasn't about to stop there. He was a man of ambition, a man who saw opportunity in every direction. After Fast and Loud turned him into a global star, he decided to expand his empire. Soon, he opened the Gas Monkey Bar and Grill in Northwest Dallas. The restaurant wasn't just about food, it was about the Gas Monkey lifestyle. Loud music, fast cars, and wild energy filled the air. Fans from around the country came to experience the place that carried the same rebellious spirit as Richard himself. It was such a success that he opened a second location at the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. Travelers could now grab a bite and get a taste of the Gas Monkey world before boarding their flights. Richard even planned a third Texas location, aiming to take his brand beyond Dallas. Then, he pushed things further by opening Gas Monkey Live, a massive live music venue that could hold thousands. It became the go-to spot for rock fans and concert lovers in Dallas. But the venue faced challenges and eventually closed, marking the end of one of Rawlings' biggest ventures. Still, he didn't stop. He opened a new restaurant called Richard Rawlings' Garage in Harker Heights, Texas. It mixed food with a touch of car culture, a place where fans could eat surrounded by car-themed decor. Unfortunately, it didn't last forever, closing in March 2019. Even so, Rawlings wasn't one to give up easily. That same year, he took the Gas Monkey brand into a whole new direction: energy drinks. The brand that once stood for high-octane engines was now about high-energy lifestyles. Rawlings even shared his story with the world through his first book, Fast and Loud: Blood, Sweat, and Beers. The title said it all. It was a no-filter look at his journey from a small-town hustler to a television star and business mogul. The book became a hit among fans who wanted to know the man behind the shades and leather jacket. But for all his business success, Richard's true love has always been the open road. Beyond Fast and Loud and Gas Monkey Garage, Rawlings is famous for his wild adventures in road rallies, massive cross-country races filled with celebrities, sports cars, and chaos. Rawlings has taken part in several transcontinental rallies, events that test both the driver and the car to their limits. And in the world of these rallies, Richard Rawlings is a champion. He's raced in the Gumball 3000, a 3,000-mile rally where celebrities and supercar owners tear across public roads. He's also competed in the Bull Run, another legendary rally that can stretch over 4,000 miles. Every step Richard takes is filled with the same passion, whether he's breaking speed records, opening restaurants, appearing on TV, or writing books. His energy never runs out, and his story keeps moving forward. Even when some of his businesses shut down, Richard never stops. He simply finds a new idea to chase, a new road to explore. But ever since Fast and Loud ended, fans have been asking the same question: why did the show stop? Richard Rawlings has never been known to stay silent, so what did he actually say about it? Why Fast and Loud really ended. For nearly 10 years, Fast and Loud stood out as one of the most thrilling car shows on TV. So when Richard Rawlings suddenly announced that the show was officially coming to an end, fans everywhere were stunned. The question on everyone's mind was clear: why did it end? The real story came out later when Richard Rawlings appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast in December 2020. During the interview, Joe Rogan asked him directly why Fast and Loud had stopped. Richard didn't dodge the question. He went straight to the point and explained that the show ended because he decided to leave Discovery Channel. According to Rawlings, after so many years on TV, he wanted creative freedom, the chance to do more than just what the network allowed. He had new ideas, like starting his own podcast and expanding the Gas Monkey brand in different directions. But his contract with Discovery made that nearly impossible. Under the contract, Rawlings wasn't allowed to launch his own podcast, start other media projects, or make independent business deals without the network's approval. To make things worse, there was a clause that fined him $25,000 if he said anything negative about Discovery, even after he left. That meant he couldn't speak freely about his experiences or share his honest opinions about the show's behind-the-scenes struggles. He also revealed something surprising. He didn't even fully control his own social media accounts while working with Discovery. The company had authority over what he could post and when, which frustrated him. In a world where social media had become one of the biggest tools for connecting with fans, Richard felt trapped and limited. In the interview, Rawlings said it felt like he had climbed to the top of the mountain at Discovery. After almost 300 episodes and nearly a decade of success, he was proud of what they had accomplished, but he also felt it was time to move on. The long filming hours, physical work, and constant presence of cameras made life exhausting. The crew had little privacy, and the fast pace of production left everyone drained. Then came 2020, a year that changed everything for everyone. The pandemic slowed down production across the entertainment world. For Richard, it was the perfect moment to pause and rethink his future. He realized he wanted to build his own path, one that wasn't tied to a network's rules. When Rawlings decided to leave, Discovery Channel made it clear that Fast and Loud couldn't go on without him. He wasn't just the host, he was the face of the show. His personality, humor, and drive were what made fans tune in every week. Without him, the show simply wouldn't be the same. So when Richard walked away, Fast and Loud came to an end. After leaving Discovery, Richard said he felt like a free agent for the first time in years. He finally had the freedom to work on whatever he wanted, and that's exactly what he did. He shifted his focus to Gas Monkey Garage's YouTube channel, where he could post videos directly to his fans without any restrictions. The move paid off quickly. The channel gained over 1 million subscribers, and fans were thrilled to see him back doing what he loves most: building, racing, and creating. Richard also started exploring podcasts and new media projects, the very things his old contract had prevented. He wanted to bring his voice and energy to audiences in new ways. Still, Richard has never spoken badly about Discovery Channel. Even though his contract's penalty clause could still apply, he said more than once that he respects the network and what they achieved together. He just felt stuck, unable to grow or try new things under their control. He once admitted that it was tough being part of a big company where change came slowly. There were things he and his team wanted to do to make Fast and Loud even better, but network rules and creative limits made that difficult. Eventually, it became clear that he had to choose between staying comfortable or taking a risk for something new. And as everyone knows, Richard Rawlings has never been afraid of risk. So, when Fast and Loud came to an end, it wasn't because of drama, low ratings, or creative burnout. It ended because Rawlings wanted freedom. He wanted to be the one steering his career, not just following directions. Today, Gas Monkey Garage is still alive and thriving. Richard continues to grow his brand, release new content online, and explore business ventures, from restaurants and merchandise to energy drinks and partnerships. Looking back, he sees Fast and Loud as a chapter, a powerful one that made him a household name, but not the whole book. As he said on the podcast, it was a bit of a perfect storm. The timing, the success, and the challenges all lined up to push him toward change. And now, he's exactly where he wants to be, in control of his own story. But do you think that Richard Rawlings is doing better now compared to his time on Fast and Loud? Share your thoughts in the comments below.